Pediatric Speech Sister Show. I am so excited to have my sis, Jordyn Carroll, on here. I'll let her introduce herself. She gave me a fabulous introduction, but I think she can do it a bit better. Um, Jordyn, the reason why I have you on here is because I'm doing a series on Eurocentric beauty standards, especially when it comes to Black hair in the field. I know you've been very outspoken about it, and I know you've told me some personal experiences you've had with feeling comfortable with your Black hair in the field. So I can't wait to hear about that on the show today. And just thank you so much for coming on to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your why?
Of course. And thank you for having me. Proud to be here. Proud of you. This is great. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I'm Jordyn Carroll. I am a speech pathologist. I am also a business owner. And I started out as a young girl in undergrad who was surrounded by people who did not look like me, and I was uncomfortable. And I thought that was just in undergrad. Like, I thought that was just my experience. My undergrad was also 3% Black, which is the same, demographics as the field. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just in this school. I'm going to go to Howard. I went to Howard for grad school, which is a historically Black college or university, which is also where I met Melanie because she also went to Howard University. And we I remember sitting in class with Dr. Perry. I've told this story a few times because it was so impactful. I was sitting in class with her. Everybody was in class. We were all burned out. We were tired. And she made us sit there and open our laptops and go to the ASH's website and find the demographics of the field. And it was the first time we all saw that it was 3% Black. The field is 92% white SLPs. And we had a very serious conversation about, like, basically, y'all can't be in here playing around. There's not enough of you to be in here, like, not taking this seriously. And you need to know how special and important you are as a group of amazing Black future SLPs at the time. So that was when my eyes opened, like, okay, well, it wasn't just my undergrad. This is my real life. And now, like, how do I prepare for this, basically? So I left
Mm.
grad school knowing that I didn't want anybody to have the experiences that I had, just feeling othered, feeling like I didn't belong here, feeling like I couldn't see anybody that looked like me outside of Howard, which obviously I was only there for 2 years, so which was a great 2 years, but it wasn't realistic in the field. So I graduated knowing, like, I want people to not feel like I did, and I want people to see a Black face. That's why I started my Instagram page. I just need people to see me, who I am, that I exist, that Black SLPs exist, because that was not something that existed when I was in grad school. So that was my why. That's why I started. I didn't have any plans to start a business or anything like that. It all just occurred.
Well, you're definitely paving the way and changing the game in the field. I was stalking your TikTok actually the other day, and I love when you pop up on my TikTok because you really do inspire people to even join the field. It's like, wait a second, that's a Black woman, and she's talking about speech pathology. We always see like doctors talking about what it's like to be in their
Hmm.
industry, but I feel that. Have you ever heard that we're called like the unicorn profession?
No, but it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that. I keep hearing that. Oh, well, yeah, you're part of a unicorn profession. And so I always say that. So we're in a unicorn profession. Not a lot of people even know about the field, doesn't matter what race you
Sure
are. So the
don't.
fact that like you're just outspoken about the industry, it's clear that you're passionate about it and you still have a lot of love for it. And at the same time, you're using your passion for this field to drive change. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that because I think um, people, like, mistake my outspokenness or, like, talking about these problems as, like, oh, I hate the field of speech pathology. I don't. I think it was, I don't want to misquote, but there is somebody, maybe it was James Baldwin, but somebody said, like, I love America so much. That is why I criticize it. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't talk about it. I just wouldn't be here. But I do love it, which is why I want it to change, which is why I want it to be better. So yeah, that's definitely where that comes from for me.
Mhm. One thing that comes to my mind a lot is passionate rage.
Hmm.
Um, And so I think a lot about women of color. I was talking to Fonglin Palafox, and so she's very outspoken too,
Love
especially
her.
Love her. She's awesome, especially the names and everything. And I think a lot of people mistake women of color when we're outspoken as angry, as hateful, as vengeful, and all of the negative things. And so, even just talking to you and seeing your page, I just really want people to understand that this isn't us. I mean, yes, we're angry because there's a lot
Right.
of injustice
Got a
and
lot to be mad about.
we have a lot to be mad about, right? Which reminds me of Solange, and I've just been playing the "Don't Touch My Hair" song in my head since
Hmm.
ending this episode. But yeah, so that's just one thing I really want people to understand is we have rage, but it's passionate rage. We're not trying to guilt or shame anybody. I know it seems like that, but we're coming from a place of love and really just wanting to change this profession because we have a lot of faith in this profession. So
It's true. I'm looking up the name of this book because it is exactly what we're talking. Or I know the name, but who the author is? Brittany Cooper. Eloquent Rage is the book. Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper. I read maybe like right after grad school, but it was a moment for me. It was a life-changing read and definitely just put into perspective everything that you said. Like we have a right to be angry that shouldn't be tamed. Here are some ways that we can use it, that we can direct it to do positive things. And how a lot of times our passion is mistaken for anger. So, great book. Highly recommend. Check it out.
yes, thank you for that. I have stories that I won't get into today where I even hesitated opening my mouth because I didn't want to be, just in predominantly white work settings, that is. Not even
Yep.
on Instagram. On Instagram, there's a little bit more freedom, but
Right.
when you're actually in that setting, it's harder. It really is. But that's an episode for another day.
There is.
Let's get to the point today. So we're talking about Black hair and feeling proud with our hair, with our heritage. I know that going to ASHA and just being in a predominantly white field, we're not as empowered to just show our authentic selves, how we want to wear our hair. I know Ianessa has some fabulous locks. You always wear your fabulous, luscious hair out as well. I stay with the braids. But at the same time, I think that we can be brainwashed to thinking that a certain hairstyle or hair texture is what's more professional and what will get us the most attention. Would you agree with that? Or what
Oh,
are your
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be Black women in their hair. Like it's always going to be a thing. It's positive and negative. It is our perspective versus their perspective. There's a lot that goes on when we talk about Black women's hair. For me, and I think a lot of people like an Ianessa, we wear our hair the way that we do, like intentionally. I am intentional in showing my hair in its natural state, and when it's not kept, when my edges are not done, like when I haven't done a wash and go sit, like I am very intentional about showing my hair in all of its states because I needed to see that. Like I
Mhm.
needed to see somebody doing that who was a professional, who was successful, because that was non-existent when I was growing up or in my family, or just like in our generation. Really, I think our generation is really making a difference in the way that we perceive what professional is with
Mhm.
hair and with everything else.
Oh, yes. That brings me to a post that I made. Dove had a campaign. I don't know what the campaign
Mhm.
was. You know what I'm talking about, though. And when I posted about that campaign, I lost followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm like, yikes. And so, one thing I wanted to even bring up is the reason why our hair is just so precious to us is the historic implications of it. The fact that it's a spiritual thing. Like when we go all the way back to our roots in Africa, it was spiritual to have certain hairstyles. Cutting our hair is even spiritual. And so, that's part of what I want to talk about today and why we are so adamant about don't touch my hair. I was in a professional work setting when I was working with my dad in undergrad, and his white colleague, she was actually a subordinate, but she touched my hair, or she asked if she could touch my hair. And I mean, I was like, I don't know, 18 or 19 at the time. So I'm like, yeah, like, sure. But also, what do you say? No, don't touch my hair. I was a little bit less empowered, right? If you
Yeah.
say that, they're like, well, what's the big deal? Well, my dad said he was so mad about it and pulled her to the side and was like, if you ever touch my daughter's hair again, that's going to be an issue. And she,
Period.
well, of course, her response was, well, my son-in-law is Black, or she had some sort of somebody who she knew who was Black and who didn't mind and had curly hair, right? So from your perspective, Jordyn, why are we so adamant about not touching Black women's hair? Black children's hair, Black boys' hair,
Black people.
Black
I
people.
think it is multi-layered. Like it is very layered for why we care and love and protect our hair the way that we do. The first thing I want to talk about is what you were talking about, the Dove campaign. That was in association with the Crown Act. The Crown Act is a law going into, it's really not even passed in over half of the states of the United States, but it's a law that says that you cannot discriminate against professionals or employees or anybody. You cannot discriminate based on hair type, based on hairstyle. There's not like you can't discriminate based on that. That has gone into law because historically, forever, we have been discriminated against by our hair because of our hair. That's one. That's one thing. So I think that there have been plenty of situations where people either didn't get a job, didn't even go into a job because of what their hair looked like. I know still to this day, people that won't go into a job interview with their natural hair that feel like they have to wear a professional. See how it just comes off the tongue? Like they
Yeah.
feel like they have to wear a professional hairstyle,
Mhm.
which is quote unquote professional because who decides that? Why is my hair not professional when yours is?
Mhm.
So I think that's really a burden that anybody who's non-Black doesn't have to carry. And I think, like you said, it goes even further back into history where it's spiritual, where when we were putting braids into our hair, we had to think about, I think it represented like three different things, whether it was like the Holy Spirit or nature or your ancestors. Like braiding your hair had really deep roots and really deep meanings. On top of that, even in slavery, we used braids to like as maps
Mhm.
to make sure that we knew what trail we were following.
Mhm.
We used our hair to carry rice and grains and other foods so that we didn't starve on the trail trying to escape slavery. So like it goes really, really far back. And a lot of people really believe that our hair carries spirits or our hair carries our history or our ancestors or all these different things. So again, a cut can be very spiritual because you're releasing something which our hair carries. So there's a lot of different reasons as to why it is as protected and loved as it is. Also, because no other hair is like ours. There's no other hair like ours that needs the type of care, that needs the type of different resources that we have to go special places to get because they don't sell it in the regular stores. You know, like there's just a lot of different reasons behind it.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people listening to this and thinking about their last time at CVS in or Duane Reade in Manhattan, right? And like, okay, wait a second, where's the Echo Style gel that matches my hair type? Where's the what am I thinking about? Where's the heat protectant spray
Man,
fit for my hair? And
you
then
know what's crazy? I just saw a video the other day, like, you know, your like Snapchat memories come up,
uh-huh.
and I'm coming from a PWI. The whole like surrounding city is predominantly white. Like that was my existence for 4 years. And then I go to Howard and I took a video of my first time going into the student store, like Howard's, you know, store on campus. And they had a whole row of Black hair products. And I remember, and I took the video and I have on the screen, like, this is how I know I'm in the right place. Because just seeing that meant so much to me. I didn't even care. I didn't care about the academics. Like, I didn't care about anything else. I was like, man, they have my hair care right on campus. That was
Mhm.
wild to me. It was non-existent. Didn't even like it wasn't a thought to me. I knew I had to go out of town to go get my hair products. Like to
Yeah.
see that was amazing.
Yeah, and healing,
Man,
honestly. Like coming from a predominantly white environment where you are otherized and even just feeling a little bit isolated in that way, and then going to a predominantly white campus, I mean Black campus, seeing all these beautiful Black people going to just the bookstore. It's the bookstore. You didn't even go to Walmart or whatever.
man,
You know what I mean?
it
So
was right there on campus. I couldn't
um,
even
you could
imagine that
walk
being
there.
on my undergrad.
Yeah, and so that makes me want to ask you what specific experiences has brought you to where you are today as far as your mindset around hair. Really, I'm thinking about in this profession if you had any discrimination against you because of your hair type.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, Black hair, natural hair is a journey because it is actually a journey. It took me a long time to be comfortable with my hair and know how to take care of it and feel like I looked professional. It was all a journey. And even now, I just made a post recently about like wearing my mini twists just in more professional spaces. I just wore my mini twist to Flasha, and I was like, man, 3 years ago, this would have never been a thing. My mini twist would have never even left the house.
Mm.
And so I think it's a journey of understanding that there is nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with my hair. There's nothing unprofessional about how I wear it. It's just a style, just like any other non-black person can wear whatever style they want or dye their hair purple and pink and green, like all these different things I saw. And I was just like, how they have no issue doing these things. Why am I mad about, or why am I feeling uncomfortable about wearing twists? Like that just doesn't make sense.
Mm.
So I do have some experience. The main one that I feel like really shaped me, really, it was in undergrad. I went to my school had a really good communicative disorders program. So they had a clinic on campus. As undergrads, you got to work in the clinic. I was a grad student assistant. So I got some really great experience there. I was in the clinic like 4 days out of the week. And at least 3 out of 4 of those days, for weeks at a time, there was somebody in the clinic that told me something about my hair. They said, it's too big. Why is it always changing? Are you sure that's how you're going into session? Maybe you should just wear it in a bun. No, I think you should really just come wearing it in a bun. Like 3 out of 4 times a week, they were telling me
Mm.
something about my hair, how it was wearing, what I needed to do with it. Have I tried this? Have you done X, Y, and Z? Like these white people trying to tell me about what to do with my hair. And I was still like relatively newly natural. So I'm still getting comfortable with how I'm doing my hair. I'm still trying to figure it out. So now I'm already feeling insecure on a predominantly white campus wearing natural hair that I'm still figuring out. And I go into what is going to be my future profession where I want to be supported and I just want to go there and learn and do my job. And I have to worry about what I look like. I have to worry about what these people are going to say about me today. I have to worry about maybe I should have just done like a sleek bun. Maybe I shouldn't have done my natural hair. But it's like, no, this is my time. Like, this is what I'm trying to figure out. So it's a lot
Mm.
going on for a 20 year old at the time. And
Mhm.
so then I remember like one day I was just having a bad day. I was mad. I just wanted to go into the clinic and somebody said something about my hair. Also, a lot of times I was coming after basketball practice. And this was one of those days. And somebody said something about my hair and I made a conscious decision like I'm never not coming with my natural hair. I'm never going to come in with a bun. I'm going to make sure my hair is out. I'm going to make sure it's as big as I can possibly get it that day because I need to make this decision for myself. For like, they're not going to impact my natural hair journey. They're not going to impact my career, my academic journey. And I was letting them do that for a while. So I remember making that conscious decision, like, this is not going to happen again. Nobody, like, not even just them, even outside of this, like, this is my hair. Nobody can tell me anything else about it. And they still did, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah,
it doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, it bothers me to the point where I'm like, that's annoying. Why are you talking about my hair? It's a microaggression. It's all these different things, but it doesn't bother me to the point where it impacts how I see myself, how I see my professionalism. Um, yeah, no, I was in DC and even like virtually, I'll, people see me from the neck up. So every time I'm on screen, they're like, wow, Jordyn, your hair is just different all the time. Or, well, I never know what I'm going to see with you. Or, wow, your hair is so big today. All the time. I get those comments all the time, still to this day. I think the biggest thing for me is, you know, shifting my perspective.
So there's a story I want to share, which I'll get to, but two things I'm thinking about is hearing that every single day when you're pretty much a baby in the profession. You haven't even like graduated yet and you just started your undergrad and you're hearing this. You said 3 or 4 times a week or 3 or 4 times a day?
A week, 3 or 4 times a week. Because I went in 3 or 4 times a week. So
Okay.
whenever I went in, I would like, as soon as I walked in the door, you know.
Yeah. And so I'm just thinking about the person listening to this who is currently in that situation and how that can be internalized. and how harmful that is to someone's self-worth and self-concept, and really they're just being themselves. And so I got a question on Instagram today was, how do you unlearn that Black hair is unprofessional? And the first thought that came to my mind was, first of all, when a job is hiring you, they're hiring you. Your hair is a part of you. Your hair, especially Black women, your hair is a part of your identity. And so it goes all the way to spirituality. And so if you're showing up with your locks, with your kinky twist, with however you want to wear your hair, and they're turning you away, first of all, I understand how harmful that could be. But that does bring me to a story that I actually want to share. And I want to get your thoughts on this because, Jordyn, my undergrad was at Howard. My
Right.
grad program was at Howard. And so I lived in DC for a bit, and then I moved to Houston, which is Black and Latinx pretty much. Then I moved to Tulsa. And even though I'm born and raised in Tulsa, I always say I was born in Tulsa, but I grew up in DC because that's pretty much where I became an adult.
Right.
So before I left my job, I came back with my hair natural style, whatever. Then I show up to work with a lace front because it's been a minute since I had weave. We had the whole COVID thing happen. I wasn't wearing and honestly, I love how I look in weave as well.
Period.
So, you know what I mean?
And you shouldn't have to explain yourself.
And I didn't have to
weave.
myself. Right. And thank you for that. And thank you for that. But you know, that actually also brings, and I don't want to jump around, but that brings me to when I was doing my oh my gosh, cultural appropriation series. And I was wearing my real cute, you already know, that real cute straight ponytail I got. With the okay, I love that look so much. Well, I'm doing the cultural appropriation series, and then a troll hops on the comments. I think I told you about this. And he was just like, well, isn't it cultural appropriation if that's not your natural hair type? I'm like, oh, for real? This is what we're doing? I'm like, well, first of all, y'all didn't create this hair type. So let's talk about that. But anyway, showing up in the private practice outpatient I was working in, first I had my natural hair, and then I show up with my lace front. And I'm getting all these compliments. I mean, I'm even seeing with the clients how different the reaction is from when I walk in with my natural hair from when I walk in with my lace front. Honestly, even on Instagram, doing reels, noticing that I'm getting more traction with having my hair straight versus when it was, you know what I mean, curly. And I had a colleague say to me, and she's already hit me with another microaggression the week before that I was really hot and traumatized about. So this is when I'm like, you know what, I can't be in this environment. She calls me out. I'm in like a PT area. It's a big area. She has a kid in her hand. I have a kid in my hand. And she calls me out and she's like, is your hair, did you get a relaxer on your hair? And I'm just like, no, this is a lace front. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, because I just noticed like your hair is so different today. You know, like of course I could look good before, but like your hair is just like so different. I knew there was something different about you. And I'm like, you know what? Bless her heart. And this is why I'm like, I don't want to necessarily shame people because I think that a lot of people don't understand how harmful their words are. That's why we need a whole bunch of microaggression trainings because I'm like, you don't understand how harmful that was to say that in front of our clientele. That was a conversation that honestly, I would have been happy to even have with you at the lunch table if you had specific questions about it. I understand it's not your culture. That's when I would have been like, okay, she's trying to practice cultural humility in this case. But in the case that she ended up doing, it was just harmful. It wasn't helpful. And I'm like, you know what? I don't actually feel supported in this environment. I don't feel like I can show up with my Black self in different ways and not be looked at like, oh, she's doing something different. Yes. So with all of that background, Jordyn, how would you have handled this situation? And someone who's currently in that environment, what would you say to them today?
Yeah.
First of all, I gave you an earful. So
yeah, no, that's a lot. And I would have felt uncomfortable too. It reminds me of a post that I made where I had just been in one of those situations where I was just in a meeting with a lot of white faces and everybody just felt the need to chime in on my hair that day. And I was just sitting there like, what is this about? Like, why do you feel the need to question me? Like when you get a haircut or you get your dye your hair or whatever, like people, one, don't mention it, or two, they're just like, hey, your hair looks nice. And then that's it. So I feel like anything beyond that is a microaggression. Like, why are you questioning me? Why do you feel entitled to the information? Why are you in my business? Like, there's just so many questions that I have. So I made a post. I was like, the next time you feel the need to ask a Black woman about her hair, ask yourself why. Why do you feel like you're entitled to this information? Why do you need to know this information? Is this information Googleable? Because don't ask me Googleable questions. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't like it. And and then don't do it. Like, don't ask. You don't need to know. It is not making a difference in your life. I understand, like you said, if you're trying to be like cultural or like curious, culturally curious, which is great. There's a time and place. There's Google again. Like, there's a time and place. There's Google. You can follow people. Social media is such a great resource to just find out information that you wouldn't know otherwise. So if you're really curious, there are all these different ways to find that information. You asking me these repetitive questions is not curiosity. It's microaggressions, because you feel entitled. You feel like you deserve to know. You feel like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you make people feel like a zoo animal. Like, you're, like, I'm not for your observation. Like, I'm a whole human being. So again, I think in that situation, if I was you, I probably would have, number one, if she asked me, what was the first thing she said is, did you get a relaxer?
Yeah.
I would have just said no. I wouldn't have provided any other information. Like, no, I didn't. I probably would have just kept walking. Like, I'm good for that. I'm good for not, like, I come to work to do my job, but then I leave. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and talk to you if I don't feel like it's genuine, and it didn't seem like that was genuine. So I probably would have said no, kept walking. If she continued to like pester me, I probably would have told her like, no, like, this is a weave. And then what did she say? What did she follow up with after that?
She pretty much was just like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, I
Oh,
figured."
because your hair is so different all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah. I probably would have said no, walked away. If she's asked further questions, I would have said it's a weave and walked away. Like, I probably just wouldn't have sat there and made it a conversation, especially when we both have kids in our hand. Like, we're probably going to or from session. I
yeah,
don't have time. Session's already only 30 minutes. Like, don't waste my time with this information or this questioning. I think if she was like, if we had previous positive experiences and I felt like she was actually a genuine person, or maybe she's just being curious, I probably would have said like, we'll talk about it more later, or like, come by my room, or we'll talk about it at lunch or something like that. Like, I have no problem having the conversation. It's just like you said, but it's what the intention is. Why are you asking me? Why do you want to know? Is it because you want to better connect with your clients or better understand your clients? Or is it just to fulfill your own curiosity? Because that's not what I'm here for. It's not my job. Yeah.
yeah. And that was the part of me that was like, I'm always down to educate if the intentions are good. That's why I said, you know what, I'd be happy if she would have just talked to me at lunch and asked curious, genuine questions. But I do think it was by design that happened where it happened, because, like you said, she wasn't entitled to that information. She just felt entitled to that information.
Yeah, she just wanted to know. It's just
Yeah.
like, people say like she let her intrusive thoughts win. Like, she saw you, she was curious, she's like, I have to know this because it's so different and so exotic and whatever else she was thinking. And it's like, that's not what this is, girl. Like, I'm
Mm.
sorry to tell you. Anything you want to know is literally somewhere else. You don't need to get that information from me.
So that makes me want to ask you the question. I'm thinking about the people we work with. So even the children, I always think about the children and the colleagues that we work with, because when I was in this environment going through these microaggressions, again, I'll say this because I've come from predominantly Black and Latinx environments. So this was all culture shock. I'm like,
Fact.
wow, there is so much that needs to be done, not only with how we treat the people who we are working with, like families and colleagues, I mean, families and clients, but colleagues too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what would you say, first of all, as far as maybe intervention strategies for uplifting Black hair, and also how we can make sure that we're building better connections with our colleagues?
Yeah, I think both very important things. For me, like I said, I'm really intentional about how I wear my hair. And I think that's the biggest one for me is I've had so many little Black girls, even some little boys, just come up to me and be like, hey, like, our hair is the same, or my hair looks like that, or having that just connection of like, yeah, girl, and your hair is cute. Okay. And don't let anybody tell you different. Like, and even just doing things like that. Or when I notice like, oh, I have this like this little Black girl, she's just wearing her natural hair. She didn't do anything to it. She's not wearing any barrettes. And I'm going to tell her how good her hair looks today, because she needs to know that her hair is cute the way it grows out of her head. You know, like you don't need to do anything extra. So I'm very intentional about just trying to uplift it that way, in natural ways, in natural conversation. I think the materials that we use are really big and what the kids are seeing, because that's obviously going to have an impact on them. If they're only seeing white kids with straight hair and they never see any kid that looks like them, they're going to think something is wrong. Like, that's logical. That's the way things work. So I think it's very important to know, or to pay attention to audit what resources you're using with your clientele. And I think that's, again, another way to really impact them. Um, I think as far as like colleagues or other adults, that's can get a little bit more tricky. I think, again, like the way you present yourself makes a big difference. I think the way that you talk about students, or if they see you having these conversations with students, like you don't know how much impact that has. Or like, even for me, like I know impact that is has had on other colleagues, where they hear me like, or overhear me have these conversations. But you also don't know who else it has impacted, and they haven't let you know that, or maybe you don't even know they were listening. So I think it's just really important to be aware of the way that you're speaking about things all the time, because you never know. I think I have given people social media accounts they can follow. I've sent articles to people. I've provided all kinds of like handouts, information, where it's like, hey, this is good info. You should look at this. I'm on, like, outside of therapy now, I'm on like editing teams, so that I know that resources that people are making now will be representative, or will have people that look like them. Bjorn is a really big one that I work with heavy, that I go through all of their materials. I literally count the percentages of the different races. I say, this girl, she's going to sleep. She's in bed. Why does she not have a bonnet on? I don't know any Black girl that,
Yes.
like, I like that type of representation really matters, because if we're not, now when I pull out a card and I see that little girl with the bonnet and I show it to another little Black girl, she's like, I wear that when I go to sleep. Period, girl. I know you do. And now we're having a whole conversation about how we protect our natural hair, why we protect, like there's so many natural ways to do that, and just to make it okay, and make it like, you're beautiful, your hair is beautiful, your hair is professional, you don't need to do anything to it. Just like regular conversation, like everything else.
Wow, I'm incredibly proud of this conversation, Jordyn. You said that there are some Instagram accounts that you point people to. Can you let us know?
It depends on what they're looking for. So I think, just for natural hair, one of my favorites, who is also a SLP, is T Rochelle, TeeRachelle. I think I'll send it to you so you can put it like in the show
Yeah,
notes.
I'll put it in the show
But
notes.
she's also an SLP. She does all the natural hair, the styles, just like little tips. And I think she's a really good one for like parents to go see, as well as like colleagues to see, because she talks about hair. She talks about Black hair. She talks about how to style it and what that encompasses. Um, I also follow a lot of like mother daughters, that where the mom does the daughter's hair and she does the different hairstyles and talks about hair care. There's another one that is actually a white mom who has a mixed race daughter. So she's learned. I'm not even, she's in the process of learning. She's learned how to do her daughter's hair, and she like helps other mothers in that way. So I'll send you, because I don't know them off the top of my head, but I'll send you these so that we can put them in the show notes, because they're great resources. But even just like looking up a hashtag, like hashtag natural hair, so much information will come up. I think social media is a great resource as far as like a search engine.
And I talked over you. I said hashtag Black hair, but what did you say? Just so people can hear it.
I said hashtag natural hair, but
Okay.
yeah, hashtag Black hair, natural hairstyles, protective hairstyles, all those things.
Well, thank you so much, Jordyn. Everyone listening to this, I have an important announcement to make. Jordyn and I decided that we're going to make a free product, a little freebie. It's still in development right now. We got to talk about this after our call and plan it. But you can definitely expect to find some Eurocentric beauty standards, just the history around Black hair, and specific strategies, just like what Jordyn mentioned, to help us with the people that we're serving and working with.
Absolutely. Also, always remember that you don't have to explain anything to anybody about your hair. Don't feel the need to, don't feel pressure to. They're not entitled to that information. That is personal. It's just like your hair care is like your health care. That's your like that's how you take care of yourself. They don't go you don't go to work talking about like how you shower. You don't
Yeah.
need to go to work talking about, do you wash your hair every day? Like,
Yeah.
that's not, you don't need to share that information. So don't feel pressure to. And just know that your hair is professional just the way it is. Feel comfortable in that. Be confident in that, because you don't know who's watching you. Like, the amount of people who have told me just seeing me has made a difference for them. Like, I don't need to know anything else. I know that I'm never going to not be natural again, because I need people to see it. And
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I want to second that, Jordyn, because I did almost have, it was crazy. And this is actually what inspired me to start this series. I had an internal battle of, should I get a sew-in again? But then I was thinking about how inconvenient a sew-in is. With these braids, I can keep them in for 6 weeks.
Right.
Pay a total of maybe $300, including buying the hair for it. But with the sew-in, I got to get some quality hair. Quality hair is about $300 right there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're already
Got to get
charging
it installed.
$300 for the installation, and then for it to only last maybe a month. And then I have natural hair. I don't want to perm my hair, so I have leave out. I don't want to put heat on my hair every single So these are things I'm thinking about. But then I'm like, well, but the brand, it look good for the brand. I'm like, you know what? Heck no, I'm not about to. I'm
This
not.
is my brand.
This is my
Natural is
brand.
my brand.
Yeah. So I really actually had to have that conversation with myself. So that's wild. Um.
Yeah.
So
And
go
one
ahead.
more thing. I also want to say it's fine to have that conversation. There will be an internal battle. I still, like I just talked about with the twist, I still go through that every once in a while. So I don't feel like that's a problem. I don't think it's unique to Black hair. I think people go through that with anything about themselves. So don't feel like that's an issue. Just know, like, at the end of the day, even with this internal battle, I'm still gonna choose this, and this is why. So yeah, you're fine to go back and forth and have that discussion with yourself, but know like what you value at the end of the day.
Yes, I do appreciate the omen to being intentional with even just how you present yourself, even with things, how you wear your hair, how you wear your clothes, everything just being intentional. So thank you so much, Jordyn, for coming on today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Where can people find you if they have any questions, want to check you out? I know you have a lot of products, your Etsy and everything. I want you to tell us all.
Yes, I again am very intentional with my products and things that I make, because I want them to be representative of everybody. So you can find all those products at jrctheslp.com or on Etsy, and my store is jrc the SLP. You can also find all that, like my products and everything, on Instagram, which is also jrc the SLP, or shop_jrc. Everything else is the same, jrc the SLP. I'm on TikTok. I have a podcast called Views for the 8%, which is coming back. It's been a while, but we're coming back. More episodes on the way. So yeah, check those out.
Yay. And I'll be putting all of that in the show notes, y'all. If y'all don't want to press rewind or whatever, it'll be in the show notes. Well, Jordyn, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Please come back on Wednesday when I meet with Barbara Fernandez. She is the author of Sis, Heal Yourself, and also the CEO of Smarty Symbols. So we'll be talking about her entrepreneurial journey. All right, everyone. See y'all later.